Your chances of being able to buy a new graphics card or CPU may actually significantly improve within the next 2 to 4 months. Let's talk about it. Before that, this video is brought to you by RGB Swap, a better alternative to eBay that I really think you should take a look at. RGB Swap is a marketplace exclusively for selling and buying computer parts that offers much lower fees than competitors such as eBay, as well as greater protection against scams. Whether you're a buyer or a seller, you're guaranteed to be protected since all orders have to be paid for first, and the funds are held for 48 hours after the buyer receives the item or they leave feedback, ensuring that you never get sold a bad item. Additionally, all disputes are manually reviewed and PayPal is used exclusively for an extra layer of security. I gotta tell you guys, I like this website a lot and I really want it to take off as a better alternative to eBay, so please, if you're interested in buying or selling PC parts online, click the link in the description below and give it a shot. I think you'll really like it. So recently there was an article posted over on Tom's Hardware that really scared everyone that said this, quote, "Some analysts believe that demand for chips now exceeds supply by about 30% and it will take 3 to 4 quarters for the supply to catch up with the demand." Essentially, this means that chip shortages will persist well into 2022. Now, of course, this got everyone scared that you might not be able to buy that new shiny GPU or CPU for a really long time, and 2022 does sound really scary. I mean, that is quite a long ways away still here, so yeah, it does sound really bad. However, I think there's a lot of things that people aren't taking into account when talking about this. So yes, while it may be true that, the supply may actually not meet demand for quite some time here, I think that your chances of being able to purchase that new GPU or CPU that you want may actually improve, especially if you're a gamer. So there's actually a number of factors that lead into this, and if you go ahead and you check on various different products, you'll notice that there are some products that actually are coming into stock more frequently already, namely the Ryzen 7 5800X. I've definitely noticed that coming into stock very frequently, and I think we're kind of on the verge with that product of it basically being widely available, and then the 5600X is also coming into stock pretty frequently as well. GPUs are definitely still very difficult to get here, and there's a number of reasons why that is actually the case. However, again, like I mentioned, there's a number of reasons as to why I believe that's actually going to improve, and you may actually be able to get a chance to purchase one of these GPUs. Now, keep in mind, it's not going to be easy for a really long time. However, you might get a chance to possibly buy one of these instead of it selling out within 1 second. All right, so the first reason as to why I believe your chances of getting a new graphics card or processor are likely to improve in the near future here is because I think we just got through what I would consider to be the worst of the supply shortages. Now, what I'm referring to is the Chinese New Year, and if you know anything about the Chinese New Year, when it occurs, and it does actually last for quite a long time, I believe it's somewhere between maybe like 2 weeks to a month, and when that does occur, it typically does actually put a stop to production, or it at least halts it somewhat. So a lot of the parts that are in your video cards do come from places like China, so of course when the Chinese New Year happens, it makes it a lot harder to get new products to you, and since we just got over that, it should hopefully be going forward that we see a little bit more supply in your video cards and processors. So hopefully that does end up occurring, and we'll see what happens, but I think things can only get better, at least on that front. Now, the second reason as to why I believe things are going to get better is because there's a lot of keys that are starting to go out now, and they should be going out to the general public here in a lot of different states, at least in the US. I don't know how things are in Europe and in other countries. However, I do know that in the US things should be getting a little bit better on that front, and the reason why I think that this is relevant is because more people are likely going to start going back into work, and so they're going to be spending a lot less time at home, and of course if there's people spending a lot less time at home, that means that there's a lot less people who typically aren't into the whole gaming sphere that are likely going to be, purchasing graphics cards. So yeah, I think that that may also improve your chances, but again, we'll have to wait and see what happens on that front. Now, the third reason as to why I believe things are likely going to get better, at least in terms of your chance of being able to purchase some sort of new graphics card or CPU, is because, many gamers have already gotten some sort of graphics card. Now, this may sound a little bit strange to you, especially if you're watching this video in hopes of getting one, but, I did do a poll a little while ago where 21,000 people did respond, and of the people who were actually looking for a video card, it looked like between AMD and Nvidia, nearly 50% of people were able to get some sort of graphics card, and it's been a little while since I ran that poll as well, so it's likely that that number has improved at least somewhat. So if you take that into account, you'll know that, of course, that means that there's less and less people that you're going to have to compete with when you're looking for one of these new video cards or processors. So yeah, I think that that means that things are only going to improve going forward as well. And then finally, the fourth reason as to why I believe you may actually have a better chance of at least specifically getting a new graphics card is because I think mining may actually actually decline in popularity going forward. Now, I could be wrong here, and of course, everything that I'm about to tell you, take it with a grain of salt. It's just my opinion, and of course, never ever purchase or sell any Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any type of coin that's worth any money based on what I tell you. But in my opinion, I think that Ethereum is going to continue to drop. It has dropped already, you know, nearly 40%. Actually, I think recently it went back up a little bit, but it does look like it's starting to decline, and I do think that it's going to continue to decline. And on top of that, you know, as more and more people do start to mine, the difficulty curve continues to go up and up and up. So I think a lot of the small-time mining operations are going to start to maybe sell off some of their cards, and so those should probably also hit the used market. And this has a number of different effects. So if a lot of people stop mining, which of course it could end up coming true, or it could end up, you know, Ethereum suddenly shoots way up and then it actually gets more popular. But let's say that it does continue to decline, and then people stop mining and they start selling their cards on eBay. Of course, selling those cards does give you more options of stuff to purchase, and that should drive down the secondhand used prices of these cards. So that's one reason miners buying less graphics cards is of course going to put less strain on the supply that's currently available. And then also, if there's a lot of miners trying to buy video cards, they basically don't have a limit on what they're willing to spend on a card as long as they can make money on it. So a lot of these scalpers that are, you know, also purchasing lots and lots of this stock and then reselling it over on eBay are going to be less inclined to do that if miners are willing to pay less and less on eBay. So of course, that means that, you know, between being able to purchase some secondhand cards for cheaper on eBay, miners putting less strain on supply, as well as you know, scalpers not having as much profitability selling to miners, all three of those factors could contribute to actually a lot lower demand on the current supply that's available. So like I said earlier in the video, even though supply is likely going to be, you know, not meeting demand for some time, and that article probably is true, I do think that your chances of getting some of that supply are actually going to get better potentially within the next 2 to 4 months. The reason why I say next 2 to 4 months is because the Chinese New Year just completed not too long ago, so that's still going to have some roll-on effects for the next potentially month or so here, so we'll see what happens on that front. And then of course, you know, mining's going to take, if it does end up declining, which again, it could end up not declining, it could end up actually getting more popular, but if it does decline, like I think it might, that will take possibly another 2 to 4 months for that to occur as well. So if all these things do align, which I think they possibly could, well then you could end up actually having maybe, you know, instead of 1 second to purchase a video card, you might actually have a couple of minutes. So we'll see what happens on that front. But, you know, either way, it is going to be difficult to get any new hardware for some time. That includes the PS5, the Xbox Series X, new graphics cards, processors. But I think the first thing to go will probably be the new Ryzen processors. You'll notice that right now, like I mentioned earlier, 5800X is actually pretty easy to get if you know what you're doing. 5600X isn't that hard anymore either. I think the next thing will probably be potentially the 5900X will start to get a little bit easier, but I think it's going to take a while, and then 5950X should follow. And then hopefully they'll actually introduce some new SKUs such as the 5600. Now, when it comes to AMD, I think it'll take them a little bit longer to get their Radeon cards into the hands of gamers because they do have obligations to the console, I believe, and then on top of that, they're just probably going to be making a whole lot of money off their processors. So, you know, even with the introduction of new cards coming such as the 6700 XT and potential 6700, it's likely just going to take them a little bit longer to get you those new video cards, as it's just probably not a priority for them right now. And unfortunately, that's just the reality. But hey, that's just what I think. What do you think about the whole supply and demand issue? Do you think it's actually going to get better like me in the next 2 to 4 months, or do you think that things are going to get even worse? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and of course, I'll see you in the next video. If you made it to the end of the video, be sure to drop a like. Every time you do so, AMD and Nvidia get more stock. Also, if you want to see more, click here. You won't be disappointed.